Hello, I'm Marlis Arnold, trade show marketing consultant and author of the book, Build a Better Trade Show Image. Welcome to the Trade Show Insights podcast with news, tips, and tools to expand your knowledge of exhibiting. It's time for our annual review of the EXHIBITOR Show in Las Vegas, which this year was a time to come together as an industry to show that we will not only survive, but can also thrive. We'll talk about some creative exhibit displays and booth attraction ideas, as well as some innovative products and services that debuted at this year's show. Instead of avoiding the subject of the economy, several exhibitors decided to tackle it head on. Kubik used a low-budget chalkboard wall with the message written on it, "Cutting back shouldn't leave you feeling empty. Be a smart cookie." And they did a whole cooking kitchen theme. The staff wore aprons, and they handed out snack bags, which had a Twinkie, some apple juice, a dried fruit packet, and a tips booklet inside of a brown paper bag. So they kept everything with that whole low-budget, streamlined theme. And one of my first questions was, how did they keep that chalkboard looking so nice and keep the letters from getting smeared? The secret? Hairspray. Another company that combined food and creative budgets was Steelhead Productions, who used a food-related theme of a lemonade lounge. And their tagline was turning sour budgets into sweet exhibits. So their pre-show mailer was coupons for a glass of lemonade in the booth, and they had a whole lemonade bar, and even had their entertainment was a flair bartender. And she was quite entertaining to watch. But they also, another clever idea they had on the tables, they had tip jars, but the jars were full of cards with tips for the attendees. So that was kind of a clever little spin on that concept. And then speaking of tackling your challenges head on, the folks at Switch had a full-size pickup truck crashing through a brick wall and encouraged attendees to liberate themselves. And so the whole theme, they had like the barbed wire strewn across the top of the brick wall, and everything was about breaking free and getting out from behind the barriers and that type of thing. They had a paintball station in the booth as well, where you could take aim and get out some of your frustrations. Although I will say some of the other exhibitors around started to get a little annoyed with the noise level of the paintball. So, that's something to keep in mind when you're creating a clever theme, that it's something that ties in well with whoever else is going to be around you. And it's really no surprise that the trend this year was all of the exhibits seemed to be more streamlined. There wasn't a lot of really overdone fancy exhibits. There was lots of fabric, which of course helps with your shrinking budgets because it doesn't cost as much to ship. It's simple to set up, easily changed out. There's a lot of ways to go when you use fabric displays. There was one exhibitor that was very streamlined, used fabric, and it's called Easy Backdrops. And they're actually fabric banners that require no hardware. You simply slide the drape on the back wall, on the pipe and drape, just slide the drapes apart, slide your fabric banner on, and then you're all set to go. It weighs less than 5 pounds, fits in a briefcase, can't get much more simple than that. Another fabric display that was very clever is from a company called Brand Booths, which are freestanding kiosks that are round, cylindrical shaped. They only have a 4-foot footprint. And so it makes it really good for food companies that do outdoor sampling at festivals. It's a quick, simple little kiosk. Just put it together. You got a nice little cutout window with a shelf for sampling, and you're good to go. Another innovative use of fabric in a display came from Fabric Images, who showcased a giant fabric ceiling fan in their booth. But the interesting thing, it had no motor of its own. It was actually just a giant pinwheel made out of fabric that they turned and supported from the ceiling. And there was a real fan positioned nearby on a shelf in the top part of the booth. They had a semi-enclosed booth area, and so they had a real fan there that actually blew onto the pinwheel and made it turn, but the ceiling fan itself actually wasn't motorized, so there's no additional riggings or anything like that that's required to support it. So that was kind of clever. Another display that wasn't fabric, but it was still a lightweight system and very portable, is called Stacks. And Stacks is interesting because it's made up of 34 two-sided panels that can be put together in almost an infinite different number of combinations for a display. You can make desks and kiosks as well, but it's really interesting to see how it can be switched around and changed, and it goes together. It looks like some kind of giant kid's puzzle when you put it together. A couple of interesting banner ideas were from Nimlock, a bi-layered banner that gives the illusion of being in 3D, and the front of the banner can be cut specifically in the shape of whatever object you have on it, so it really does make it pop off of that back half of the banner. And for a more high-tech banner stand, Globotech was featuring a digital banner that was completely portable and offers the opportunity to have digital content that you can easily change out. And the whole stand is very self-sufficient and just a plug-and-play system. And now for some clever promotions and giveaway ideas. I think probably my favorite new discovery at this year's show was a digital badge from Audience Tag. And these badges are basically a small picture of an iPod video screen, only that's all it is just a little black screen. And you can put your digital message on there, a little slideshow or video, and it cycles through, and it's just very cool and very eye-catching. And speaking of digital messaging, Kion Interactive had touchscreen monitors that allow you to have a 3D tour of your products on the screen that customers can interact with. And this is really good if you've got giant equipment that's really expensive to ship, or it takes a lot of space in the booth, or if it's something that really can't be fully demonstrated in a booth space anyway. It's a really good way that the visitors can interact and explore and really learn what your product is all about. Now, if you want to go more low-tech with your messaging, there was also a company with a product called the Mini Brochure, which basically takes and puts all your information onto a piece of paper that folds up into a size not much bigger than a business card. And it makes a very clever little, well, mini brochure. So that's another option too. Now, for some clever promotions, Exhibitor Magazine had a very clever promotion that they called Find Your Species. And so you were supposed to come to the booth and take a little quiz on the digital screen, and then it told you which kind of animal you were, and then they handed out a button which you wore around the show saying were you a swan or a giraffe or whatever. And interestingly enough, that those of us in the trade show business seem to be overwhelmingly swans. But it was just kind of a fun promotion and a good conversation starter throughout the show. Really, it seemed like that there were less giveaways this year, probably due to reduced budgets. But among those booths that were still doing giveaways, there seemed to be two trends, one of which was green, and Think Green Promos was showing off their custom recycled bags, and their tagline was "Green is the new black." Oh, and while we're on the topic of green, lots of exhibitors will say that they have green products, but one way to really show it off was at Ecosystem's booth, they used an innovative board that they called the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it was a flip board. And so on one side of the board, they showed what was their product, which was green, the green alternative, and then the back side, which was in red, was their competitors' products, only not naming their competitors, of course, but just showing how the green alternative compares to the non-green product. And the second trend in giveaways is something that we see all the time, but it seems to be even more prevalent when giveaways are meant to be even more special, and that is personalization. And with the technology that we have available now, there's even more ways that you can personalize things right there in the booth. And one company that's great at that is Ardent Impressions, which is formerly Instaphotos. And they do so much beyond just the photo booths. But this year they were showcasing some photo laser engraved dog tags, which were very cool. And they had engraved USB flash drives and various foil imprinted items. And then the item that they were actually handing out was your name engraved on a wooden business card holder. To see photos of the exhibits that we've discussed, be sure and visit the show notes at imagespecialist.com/tradeshowinsights. And overall, this year's show, it was very positive. Traffic was pretty good throughout the show. In fact, the number of attendees was almost identical to what was there in 2008. And the number of exhibitors had only reduced slightly from 315 exhibitors in 2008 to 301 this year. But this year, there were actually 86 exhibitors who were there for the first time that were new to the show. So that's always very encouraging to see that many people stepping out and participating in a show for the first time, especially in an economy like this. So overall, everything is really indicating that our industry is moving forward. We will be okay. We are creative. We can come up with innovative new ways to handle reduced budgets and the challenges that are thrown at us. And it's just overall, it was a very encouraging time. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues as long as it is shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the show notes. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes at imagespecialist.com/tradeshowinsights. Until next time, I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening.